We clash with them, we may not benefit. Conflicts aren't scary, but if they delay the main mission, that would be terrible. Wang Wushuang said, that's right, the important thing is to kill the absolute sound beings and obtain the list to enter the cultivation academy. As for the conflicts, we should avoid them if possible. That person isn't the type to reason with, right? Yi Langtian stood up and said, everyone, we've entered the absolute sound battlefield, we must concentrate in one place and support each other. The others agreed, okay, let Brother Yi speak. Understood. Qi Ling Buenjiao said, if young Master Gu Chang'e were here, those aristocratic families would definitely show more respect. Others agreed, yes, with young Master Gu Chang'e around, we would indeed feel much more at ease, truly trustworthy. Yi Langtian said, how could we be without Brother Gu? He continued, don't worry, I've already informed Brother Gu. Based on the timeline, he should be arriving soon. Everyone became excited, Brother Chang'e is coming too. That's great, now we don't have to fear those people. Suddenly a voice came, you say Gu Chang'e will come. Everyone looked at him in surprise, it's the Empress and strange beasts like the Black Kirin on Emperor Mountain, their aura is too overwhelming. The people behind immediately shouted, the prince is asking you, are you deaf? If we don't go up the mountain, does that mean everyone now claims to be a genius? Hope you can tell right from wrong. Others, seeing this, angrily said, these people. But Yi Langtian quickly stopped them with a voice transmission, don't get agitated, these people are very strong, even I can't deal with them. He immediately said, Brother Gu said he would come, but when exactly, I'm not sure. Before he could finish, an overwhelming aura pressed towards him, and the figure of a Gu in front of him released an astonishing oppressive aura, saying, are you Yi Langtian? The one with Gu Chang'e, the ancient emperor, is he a Yuan immortal? Let me see. This won't do. He immediately mocked, looks like Gu Chang'e is just a name after all. Everyone refuted, how can there be such a statement? Wang Wushuang immediately reminded, Brother Gu is the leader of our righteous young generation, I advise you to think twice, don't regret it later. A Gu laughed and said, leader of the righteous path. Without the tiger, the monkey becomes king. Dong Yu, seeing this, intervened. A Gu, don't be so rude. If he comes, I'll sit down and talk with you. I don't believe I won't see him this time. Yi Langtian, seeing this, asked in confusion, isn't this wrong? After all, we've also. Before he could finish, Dong Yu interrupted, what's wrong with that? Don't you think it's an honor to have a chance to deal with Emperor Mountain? Even the Yi family prince can't compare to us. Today, I must wait until he appears. Suddenly, a voice shouted from a certain direction, no need to wait any longer. Everyone looked back in surprise. Coming from the lower level was none other than Chang'e, who had arrived in time. He said, Gu has arrived. Then calmly asked, have you all been waiting long? Dong Yu frowned and shouted, Gu Chang'e. The people around also took turns shouting, young Master Chang'e, Brother Gu. A Gu smiled slyly, finally here, let me give it a try. The figure released black mist and slowly advanced. A cold air enveloped everyone as Gu Chang'e calmly walked past them, ignoring the icy atmosphere. After walking a short distance past Dong Yu and a Gu, he spoke, it's me. May I ask what advice Empress and Brother Egu have? The two finally woke up, their faces showing terror. He broke into a cold sweat, his pupils shrinking. Dong Yu calmly responded, you're the young master of the Chongqing Gu family. Don't you think it's too careless to slander my brother as the heir to the demonic arts? He replied coolly, perhaps Miss Dong Yu is mistaken. I don't recall ever saying your brother is the heir to the demonic arts. Nearby, Yi Liuli agreed, exactly, how can one speak without proof? He continued, besides, I was simply judging based on the theory of Saintess Zi Qin. Seeing his defense, Dong Yu angrily shouted, Gu Chang'e, don't try to deny it. The Saintess from the human race temple has visited the Gu family multiple times, and you ignored her. My people saw it, you. And the human race temple colluded to frame us at Emperor Mountain. What exactly is your goal? Chang'e simply smiled and responded, I have some doubts. The matter of the demonic arts is no small matter. The Empress of Emperor Mountain, instead of proving her innocence, turns to shame and anger. What does this mean? Not daring to argue with the human race temple, and repeatedly causing trouble for me, what is the intent? He silently glanced at her, concluding, is it because you think I am gentle and easy to bully? People around pointed to Dong Yu's group, saying in turn, Emperor Mountain is too domineering, I see you're just fabricating things. To protect the heir of the demonic arts and oppose the world. Indeed, when we walked forward, the momentum was intimidating. That guy assassinated my sister that day, carrying the original aura of Emperor Mountain. This is true, undeniable. Can you deny it? The thin one, Huang Mang, whispered, Miss, this matter. At this moment, Dong Yu replied, I. And then fell silent. A Gu next to her also stopped talking. Gu Chang'e suddenly sternly raised his voice, everyone, as the saying goes, disaster doesn't come alone, suffering is unbearable, a person's appearance does not represent their heart. I'm sure Miss Dong Yu is deeply involved, not yet awake, and has been used by others. We cannot blame her entirely. He turned around and walked towards the wine table, saying, today, it's rare for us to meet, don't mind these unpleasant things. Yi Langtian quickly responded, Brother Gu is right. With such a heart, how can one not admire him? Chang Gu replied to Langtian, Brother Yi, you're too kind. We are all from righteous sects, at this time we should value harmony. Lu Li said to the group, this is the result. He sat down by the tea table, used magic to control the wine bottle, pouring wine into cups while inviting, come. Why doesn't young Master Dong Yu sit down and have a few drinks, just consider it giving me some face. A Gu listened and spoke, young master, this matter. She snorted coldly, arms crossed, looking displeased. Sitting comfortably in the chair, she raised her teacup and said to him, Gu Chang'e, I will provide evidence to clear my brother's name. This cup of wine is to thank you for saving me. He waved his hand in a polite response. No need, I think your character is simple and honest, I know you mean no harm. If not for this. He paused, his face darkened, and continued, you and these two are already dead under my foot. His words stunned her, and she shouted, you. A Gu beside her looked dejected, not daring to look up. Chang Gu continued, if I were you, I wouldn't waste time causing trouble. No smoke without fire, Prince. Tian is a man of exceptional talent. If there is truly injustice, why not stand up and tell us? Lang Tian, standing in the middle, also said, Brother Gu said that Tian Huang Mountain considers all suspicious people as enemies, but never clears things up. Why would the person who attacked the Gu family use Tian Huang Mountain's ultimate skills? This left young Master Dong Yu silently staring at his wine cup. She remembered her brother's pained face, her heart filled with sorrow. Not long ago, while cultivating, I accidentally severed my past memories. Thinking of this, she lowered her head and sighed silently, brother. Holding her wine cup, she gently raised it and responded, I understand. I noticed my brother's personality and words. Is there a problem? Lang Tian respectfully raised his wine cup and said, young Master Dong Yu understands the greater good and can put the big picture first. Yi respects young master with a drink. Over here, Chang Gu smiled slightly, thinking to himself, I can't leave you out, brother Yi. She raised her wine cup and announced, today I intruded unexpectedly, this cup of wine is my apology. Then she drank it in one go. Seeing this, he raised his wine cup and laughed loudly, praising, I didn't expect young Master Dong Yu to be such a straightforward person. Today, let's have a drink. Before he finished, she was already lying on the table. At this moment, a Gu explained. Miss rarely drinks. He smiled and didn't mind, saying, it's fine, take her back, I won't see you off. Later, in a closed room, Gu Chang'e and Yi Langtian sat across from each other discussing. He asked, "Is there another inheritor of the demonic arts, Brother Yi, are you sure?" Yi Langtian confirmed, "I saw it with Lu Li's own eyes, there's no mistake. He should have been cultivating at that time, but the energy and methods were exactly as described in the records of the forbidden demonic arts." He silently supported his chin, "It seems. This time it's definitely not the heavenly realm, the hidden danger is greater than we thought." Langtian shared his thoughts, "That's why I considered the bigger picture, afraid of alerting the snake, I've never exposed it. Only today did I tell Brother Gu." This loyal attitude moved him, and he immediately praised, "Brother Yi, you did right. From now on, about the demonic arts. You must inform me in advance to avoid increasing casualties. The greater my ability, the greater my responsibility." So, the two shook hands tightly, showing their strong brotherly bond, staring at each other. Langtian loudly said, "Brother Gu, having you in the righteous path is truly our luck." Chang'e then said, "To have a confidant like Brother Yi is truly my fortune." He smiled but thought to himself, "These words are heartfelt, but aside from me, how could there be another inheritor of the demonic arts? Could it be a disguise? Wait, could it be?" Late at night, the sky was dark, relying only on moonlight and starlight, when suddenly a sob could be heard. In another space, Gu Chang'e knelt under the cherry blossom tree, comforting a child. The child cried while blaming, "Master. How could you leave Tian Tian, Wu Wu?" He let the child hug him, gently placing his hand on the child's shoulder, whispering, "Silly child, Master was just busy with something, how could I leave you, you are my only disciple." Suddenly, a strange figure appeared from behind, calling out in confusion, "Master." The voice caught his attention. He slightly turned his head, carefully observing the young girl's body filled with killing intent, looking down in anger and saying, "I am your disciple, why?" After a pause, she lifted her head, her face strange, dark and fluctuating, her eye sockets black, tears flowing down her cheeks, but they were black. Her pupils filled with hatred, asking, "Did you forget?" Seeing the girl's face, Gu Chang'e was shocked and woke up suddenly, cold sweat dripping, not knowing what had happened. He wiped his forehead, feeling downhearted, thinking, "Is this a sealed memory, or a dream? A girl like me actually had a nightmare. If this spreads..." Then he opened the information board and began to check. The panel showed many lines of text, "Daughter of Destiny, red-clad demoness, she has long since been lost in time, her body falling into the abyss. However, her hatred for you cannot be erased, now her consciousness returns from the darkness, ready to slaughter the world, all for revenge." Seeing this, he puzzled, Daughter of Destiny. Could she not be a villain? Rewinding time, a group of people were all kneeling, their heads bowed, touching the ground. In the scene, a little girl with black hair hanging smoothly down, her head lowered, did not raise her face. She listened to the words of the person she was holding, "Your family was killed by them, and the village was burned by them. They are your enemies. Now that I have caught them, you can deal with them as you wish. Kill them or let them go, it's your choice. Do it." The woman in red gripped a sword, trembling. In the end, the bodies lay scattered on the ground, blood staining a large area in the distance, with two figures, one large and one small. The woman in red softly called out, "Master." She looked up and smiled at him, declaring, "When I grow up, I want to marry you." Upon hearing such childish words, he simply reached out and ruffled her head, laughing, "Let's talk when you grow up." The woman in red grew more and more beautiful as she matured, with a slender figure and fair, tender skin. At this moment, she stood straight, looking at her master seriously and asked, "Master, were the bandits back then arranged by you?" He did not turn around, replying, "So what if they were?" She said nothing, decisively picked up her sword, and rushed toward his position. However, when the sword tip touched his long hair, she immediately stopped, trembling. She widened her eyes, tears already flowing, and painfully asked, "Master, can you tell me why? However, he bluntly refused, I cannot. Watching the short video, Gu Changa remained silent, his face dark, sighing in confusion. What kind of melodramatic plot is this? Around them were hills, with clouds and mist swirling, and in the distance, a grand city could be faintly seen. In a room, Gu Changa, a girl who had just woken up, groaned while holding her head, my head hurts. She covered her head, groggily recalling, how embarrassing, I can't believe I got drunk in front of others. Gu Changa was completely different from what I imagined. I thought he was someone who was unreasonable, ruthless, and cunning. She sighed, I hope I didn't say anything nonsense in front of him when I was drunk. A boy pushed open the door and walked in. Xiaoyu, this is the hangover soup I just made. She hurriedly pulled up the blanket to cover her body. Brother. Brother, why didn't you knock? Yang Chang looked at her, puzzled. Ah, wasn't it like this before? He thought to himself, what's going on? My silly sister always obeyed me before. He walked closer to her, and she still covered herself with the blanket, asking, Brother, what's wrong? He replied, I've already heard from Agu about last night. I didn't expect that idiot to think that you said and did things that angered many people. He sat down and handed her the hangover soup. She took it. It's indeed my fault, I almost caused Tianhua Mountain to fall into a public opinion whirlpool. He immediately retorted, nonsense, with my instincts, Gu Changa must be involved. It was him who set the trap. How could it be you? She took the soup bowl. Brother, after talking with Gu Gongzi, I believe Tianhua Mountain may have been plotted against. Gu Gongzi was also used by that person. She widened her eyes, looking at Yang Chang. He stood up angrily, shouting, Gu Gongzi, what kind of drug did you take? Why do you keep calling him Gu Gongzi? The person behind, Gu Changa, has already slandered me. Do you know that? She straightened up, and he snatched the soup bowl from her hands. Don't drink it. The hangover medicine can only make you sober, not clear your mind. He slammed the door and left, leaving her standing there in confusion. From now on, you are not allowed to go out without my permission. Stop provoking him. She shouted, Brother. She didn't understand. Her brother also said he wasn't familiar with Gu Gongzi, but why did she always feel that? He was very wary of Gu Gongzi. His actions and words were completely different from before. It was really strange. In another scene, Wang Wuxuang awkwardly smiled, Sister, don't be angry. Wang Zizhen glared at him, I told you, don't use my protective talisman unless it's urgent. Do you know how busy I am? If you can't explain the reason, I'll make you understand why the flowers are red. I don't know what kind of medicine Jiang Xiaoxiao took, but why is she so angry? In a place surrounded by mountains and clouds, a voice came, making the person turn around coldly and ask, why are you looking for me instead of enjoying yourself at home? Zikong laughed, aren't you thinking about me? By the way, have you found any clues about the demonic cultivation inheritance while traveling around recently? She wasn't very happy. Seeing her like this, Zijun continued, what's wrong? You don't look too well. I heard you went to see young Master Gu Changa. How was it? Was he interesting? Her expression became even more displeased as she furrowed her brows. She quickly left, leaving the person behind, who called out, hey, come back. Back in the present, Wang Wuxuang said, but didn't you say you would give me a talisman in an emergency? Do you have to be there in person? She angrily replied, that means I can save you when your life is in danger. Do you understand how precious the talisman is? Think of it as a leaf. Wang Wuxuang was dissatisfied, is it really an emergency? You once told me that if there was any news about young Master Changa, I should inform you. He's also come to South Chintian. Are you still asking me whether you should find you? That's why I was thinking whether I should tell you. She suddenly patted his shoulder, and he was startled. Wuxuang, you did well, I'm very relieved. In a secluded place, among the withered trees, two figures could be faintly seen standing there. So this is the entrance to the silent sound battlefield. If you don't pay attention. The other person responded, if you don't pay attention, you won't find